Hello students, today I want to welcome you to my first language lesson for PSE students, and in today's lesson we want to cover some important language stuff for PSE. One, you're going to learn about friendly letter. Two, also you're going to learn about formal or business letter. Three, you're going to learn about narrative story writing and the parts of a story. And four, identify what should be included in a story and letter. And with no further delay, let's identify friendly letter. What is the purpose of a friendly letter? A friendly letter or informal letter is a way of communicating between two people, sometimes more, who are usually well acquainted. There are many uses and reasons for writing a friendly letter, but usually friendly letters will consist of topics on a personal level. Friendly letter can either be printed or handwritten. And so remember, a friendly letter is usually to a friend or also to a close relative or family members. Okay, so for a friendly letter, you have over to your right hand side, you have your heading, which also include your date. So where you're from, your town, your city, your street, and all that, including your date. Then you skip a line and over to your left hand side, you have your greetings, and for your greetings, you could just simply place dear friend or dear the person name, then you end it with a comma. Remember, the comma go after dear friend or dear Aunt Rita, for example, here. Then you will skip a line and you will write your different paragraphs. You could include 2 to 3 paragraphs. Remember, students, just include the information, break them down into paragraphs that PSE is going to ask you to include in the letter and in the body. Then when you finish your body and your different paragraphs, you skip a line. As you complete your final paragraph, you skip a line and you go with your closing and signature. Then apart from friendly letter, we have formal or business letter. A formal letter structure, the title, dear sir or madam, then you end it with a colon. Then you have the explanation and the reason for writing. That's what you will include in a formal or business letter. Then paragraph 1, your first point with detail. Usually in a formal or business letter, it's always good if you're writing to a business or complaining about something. Introduce yourself and say something nice about the business for your first paragraph. Then paragraph 2 and 3, you will include what PSE asks you for. The PSE room usually have some details, information that they want you to include in your letter. Then your signature and your name at the bottom. So to continue, the purpose of a formal or business letter is often serious. It may be a formal application for a job, a formal statement of a job offer, a formal thank you note following an interview, a formal document from your employer offering a promotion, or even a formal complaint about a business or situation you encounter. And here's a sample, if you can see. An easy way to remember where to place the different parts of your formal or business letter, just place everything over to your left hand side. You start with your address because remember, it's you who is writing the letter, so you start with your address. You skip your line, you put the current date, then after placing the current date, also over to your left hand side, you skip a line, then you have the company's address. Then after the company's address, you skip a line. Then you place your greetings, dear sir / madam, colon. Then you include what PSE asks you to include in your letter in different paragraphs. Remember, you skip line also for your paragraphs. And after you skip line and place your last paragraph, and make sure that you include all the information PSE asks you for, you will skip a line and do your closing. So you could have a closing such as yours truly, yours sincerely, and you signature the letter and you print your name at the bottom. And remember, the letter should be finished by then after you print your name at the bottom. So again, for a formal or business letter, you place all the different parts over to your left hand side of your paper. Then you will start with your address because it's you who is writing the letter. Then the current date, but remember you're going to skip a line after your address. After skipping a line for your date, you will also skip a line and you will start the company's address. Then after the company's address is completed, you will skip a line and you're going to place your greetings, dear sir / madam, with a colon. Then you're going to skip a line for each paragraph. And when you're finished with all the paragraphs, you're going to skip a line and you're going to do your closing with yours truly or yours sincerely. Then after your closing, you're going to place your signature, and right under your signature, you're going to print your name, and the letter is finished. Remember, that's for a formal or business letter. Now, when it comes to story, the PSC room usually asks for 3 paragraphs: beginning, middle, and ending. Your first paragraph is supposed to include 5 to 8 sentences, which is supposed to be your beginning or your introduction of your narrative story, which should include the who, what, where, when, and why. So a little description of what the story will be about. Paragraph 2 should be your problem, and your problem in full details. And paragraph 3 should be your closing or ending of the story, where you find a solution to your problem. But remember, just don't go quickly and just say, okay, problem solved, and end it with a happy ending. But before you solve the problem, find a few ways of trying to solve it first, then you solve the problem. So now let's go into what is a narrative. A narrative is something that tells a story. It can be a short story, a novel, a drama, or a narrative poem. The author may write about an experience or event from his past, something that happened to another person, a recent or an ongoing experience or event, a fiction, a made-up story. So remember, a narrative, the best way you could write a narrative for PSC is write a narrative story about you, because when you tend to write about yourself, you always tend to be original. And many times you want to write about someone else and you get ideas from books or movies that you've watched in the past, but you want to be creative, so let the narrative be about you. Okay, so remember the parts that I explained earlier. It should include the beginning, the middle, and the ending. So every story can be broken up into 3 parts: the beginning, the middle, and the ending. The beginning, introduce your characters, your setting, your problem or conflict. Then the middle, events in the rising action. Then events in the falling action. Then the ending is a resolution or conclusion, which you end your story with a happy ending. So you find ways to try to solve your problem. Then in the end, you solve it with a happy ending. Remember, what is very important to know about your narrative writing, that you include a different figurative language like simile, metaphor, personification. Why? Because it gives taste to your writing. So students, don't forget to include the different figurative languages a part of your story. So things you should include: beginning of a story should include the who, what, where, when, and why. This is the introduction, 5 to 8 sentences. Middle, you should explain your problem in full sequential order. You should explain what caused the problem from start to finish, 5 to 8 sentences. Ending, come up with a few ways of trying to solve problem. Then you solve it with a happy ending, 5 to 8 sentences. Remember to note, make sure to add figurative languages in your writing. When you finish your writing, remember the stages of the writing process. After you focus on your pre-writing, your drafting, your revising, make sure that you edit your story, fix all mistakes. That's what professional writers do before they publish their writing, meaning that you give it to whoever is going to check it. You make sure that you fix as much mistake as possible, and you as a student will get a better grade. So remember, you can go back and see the different parts of a formal letter that is in this lesson, and also a formal or business letter, and what should be included in your story to write the best letter and story as possible to get your best grade for PSC. Thanks so much for tuning in. I trust that you will continue to look forward for more lesson coming soon for the different subjects in PSC. Subscribe and share with a PSC student. Thank you.